we still have $10 billion a year of oil in Quebec. And of course, we want to decrease that. More than 80% of the oil we have in Quebec is coming either from Alberta or United States. So it's a transition. And of course, I want to reduce the consumption of oil, for sure. And I have no problem saying that to Jason Kenney.
It's not officially on paper yet, but yesterday, Quebec Premier François Legault announced a sneak peek of his plan for slashing emissions in the province, saying he wants Quebec to become the, quote, green battery of North America. To do this, he says he would cut the province's oil consumption by 40% by 2030, replacing it with clean electricity. Already, 35% of energy use in Quebec is electric. Legault estimates Quebec will then be able to reduce its emissions by 37.5% rather of 1990 levels by 2030, as set out in the Paris Agreement. Christopher Skeet is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Quebec Premier for Relations with English-speaking Canadians. He joins us now from Quebec City. Hi, Mr. Skeet. Nice to see you again.
Hi there, Vashi. Nice to see you.
Let me start off by asking you about some of the targets within this plan. They are very aggressive, more aggressive than the current set of targets right now. Why should Quebecers expect you to meet those goals when, you know, the target set out by Paris, Quebec is only about a quarter of the way there?
Well, you're right to say that it was very disappointing when we first came into power. We looked everywhere to find our previous government's plan, and lo and behold, there was none. So, of course, it was very disappointing. But what we're looking to do is our plan is to marry the economics of the thing with the ecology of the thing. And I think we have the right formula with what the Premier proposed.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, being the power of, the Northeast, I think is a really ambitious plan. So let's think about it this way. Right now, we're currently building some electric lines to Massachusetts. We're really happy with that deal that we've been able to pen. Recently, the mayor for New York, Bill Blasio, said that he wanted to transition the city away from hydrocarbons. So again, there was another opportunity there. And just last week, the Premier went down to New York City to speak with the mayor. And I think we're on the verge of a really nice agreement there. So I think by having this plan where we could leverage our hydroelectric power in Quebec, we can actually punch above our weight in terms of ecology and at the same time help our economy. So it's really a win-win.
Doesn't that truly depend, though, on whether the customers are there? And you mentioned Bill de Blasio. Isn't he running for president? I mean, what kind of guarantee do you have that you'll actually have a place to sell that product?
Well, I think more and more people are starting to realize that we need reliable sources of energy. Quebec is a reliable partner in the Northeast, be it Ontario, be it Massachusetts, be it Vermont, be it New York. We're confident that we have enough clients in order to sustain our economy. Right now, we're at 80% of capacity for our power. We want to bring that up to 100%. We think we could do it. And honestly, we need to do it. We also have a climate problem, and I think it's important that we address that problem head on. And that's what we're trying to do.
The policies that the Premier talked about aim to radically, within that vein, change behavior. For example, reduce oil consumption by 40% by 2030, the idea of more electric cars and perhaps subsidizing that. How hard will that be given current behavior? And I'm thinking, for example, of the 250,000 SUVs Quebecers bought in 2018.
Well, we're actually, notwithstanding that, we're actually doing very well already. Quebecers per capita are are the number one, province or jurisdiction in terms of output of carbon, right? So I think we're doing really well there. Now, in order to do better, we have to have a plan. So what we're doing is we're going to be investing on electrification of our transportation networks, rail, cars. We also have a plan where we're financing electric cars for Quebecers. We also have plans to transition our government buildings. We were burning oil in our government buildings, so it's time to invest to change that. We're going to be building new schools. We recently announced 5% increase for spending on schools. We're going to be making sure that every school that we build is going to be electric. So I think we're going to lead by example, and we're hoping that Quebecers will get on board. But again, you're right to say that it is ambitious, but I think the climate problem is such that we have to be ambitious and we have to think outside the box.
I guess I ask about the ambition because there are a lot of targets that have been set throughout this country that have not been met. And thus far, your province is not on track to meet those targets?
Well, we're not on track for 2020, and that's for sure, right? We got elected last year, and like I said in my intro, lo and behold, there was no plan. I think, if you have a plan going forward, if you marry the economy of the thing with the ecology of the thing, I think there's really an opportunity, and that's what we're planning on doing. I think, we have to invest massively in our public transportation, something that's been neglected historically here in Quebec. So we're going to be investing heavily there, and don't forget, we also have Bombardier here in Quebec, so it's an opportunity for us to actually do really well in terms of building tramways and rail systems in that regard. Again, as I said, with our infrastructure, we have buildings that are still burning oil. We have homes that are still burning oil. Recently, the mayor of Montreal announced a ban on heating oil in Montreal. I think that was a really good idea. And what we're going to do is we're going to extend that to our provincial buildings. And of course, it's also industry. We're going to be creating incentives for industry to transition away from oil. So I think, if you want to walk the walk, you got to do the work, and I think that's where we are right now. And I think it's time for action. And 2030 is a reasonable goal. It's ambitious, but I think we can do it.
How much will this plan cost?
Well, we have a green fund, right? So we're already involved in a market with California, and we have a green fund that has been historically misallocated. For instance, when we first came on board, we noted that the green fund was funding, purchasing airplanes and things like that. It really made no sense. Minister Benoit Charette is going to be reevaluating our green fund, which has a significant amount of money in it. Not to mention, Quebec is lucky that we have some surpluses. So now's the time to be investing in these types of things. How
much will it actually cost? Has it been costed out?
Well, we're going to be coming out with our plan in the fall. Minister Charette is going to be saying exactly what he wants to do with the Green Fund. We don't have the specifics now, but we are confident that we're going to be able to do it.
Will it be costed in the fall?
Of course, it'll be costed in the fall.
Costed.
Yeah, the Minister of Environment is working on this plan. We're going to announce it shortly, but we're still trying to dot the I's and cross the T's on that.
All right, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Skeet. Appreciate your time. That's Christopher Skeet, Parliamentary Assistant to the Premier for Relations with English-speaking Quebecers. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video. Thanks for watching.